So the final point of discussion is on becoming a reflective practitioner. Now, I know last, second semester, well, really probably all along, your first year, you've done some analysis of your work. And this is something that's going to be ongoing, right? So part of becoming a reflective practitioner is recognizing that you as a future interpreter, as a current student, are becoming part of a wider community of practice. Okay, that community of practice is connected locally from within your classrooms to Edinburgh to the UK, but also by way of professional organizations such as the SASLI and ASLI. And then you've got world associations as well, so the World Association of Sign Language Interpreters. And there's members of these organizations, and then the community in which that you work, obviously, that come together in this community of practice to support one another and to support and grow and develop the profession. Now, in order to become an active member and within these organizations is not just to sign up and become a member, but it's to personally actively try to improve your own practice as well as better the profession itself. So becoming that reflective practitioner is key. We know that you're starting your training here, and we're going to do various activities that say, hey, reflect on this, do that, analyze your work, but at the end of the day, a lot of this is going to become your responsibility. So you need to take that responsibility to go, ooh, I just practiced interpreting this, and now I'm going to reflect on the work because I want to reflect. I want to become better. So it should be something that is an active practice. So it's before class, in class, after class, trying to figure out, how do I become a better student? How do I become a better interpreter? And let's be honest, how do I become a better person, right? Because it's all connected, is that constant opportunity to reflect in your work. Parker Palmer once said that the growth of any craft depends on shared practice and honest dialogue among the people who do it. So you're here. This is a cohort, a subgroup of that community of practice, and you should be working together in an honest dialogue about your work, sharing it, discussing, and together you're going to be growing, okay? So I keep tossing around this word, reflective practice, but what actually is it? Well, it's also known as peer guidance, professional consultation, case conferencing, supervision, mentoring, right? So what it is when we think and talk about the work for professional development purposes. So becoming a reflective practitioner means we are a practitioner who reflects on our work in order to grow, okay? And this year you're going to be reading a book called Demand Control Schema. One of the authors received her PhD from Heriot-Watt University, and she is also a world-renowned sign language interpreter from the States. And her work focuses on ethics, and she's created a framework called DCS that helps interpreters make decisions about the work that they do. Okay? But in that book, it says, the choices that we make and the actions that follow from those choices can uphold or deny the dignity of other people, can advocate or violate the rights of other people, can affirm or disavow the humanity of other people. Given the potential consequences of our choices and the resolute actions, it is reasonable to expect that we constantly re-examine those values, principles, and beliefs that underscore and shape the decisions we make and the actions we undertake. So individually and together, we hope that you can work to grow to become a better interpreter. Our job has a lot of potential consequences. And it's not something we should be taking lightly. Okay. Throughout your time here at Heriot-Watt in our program, but then also through the remainder of the profession, there's a lot of talk about the term confidentiality. It's one of the key tenets of the Code of Ethics that is followed by sign language interpreters pretty much everywhere, no matter what part of the world you are in. If you are an interpreter, they will talk about confidentiality. But while we recognize confidentiality is key, it doesn't necessarily mean I can't talk to somebody. And I think this is really important. So when you're trying to participate in reflection, you don't have to keep it all in, right? So you can confide. So the term confidentiality actually derived from the word confide, to tell somebody in confidence. So we can present what's called cases that can be thought about, discussed, and learned from. So an experience can actually then, that you've had in practice or in the classroom, can be brought to another person or a small group of professionals, but discussed in a very professional way. You're not giving away the details that would potentially jeopardize the confidentiality of that particular person's situation, but you're still able to talk about and learn from the experience that just occurred. Okay. So supervision. This is a place that somebody should feel that they could confide, talk in confidence to another person or other people. And the word is in the DCS book is that you want to obtain a superior vision that you couldn't achieve on your own. So it's working through that dialogue in order to understand something greater about a particular situation. Now, no graduate is going to leave their professional education, their interpreter education program completely prepared to interpret, to practice independently. It's the nature of it. And so when you graduate, you should really think about, I should find a supervision group that I can become a part of, and I can have that community of support to be able to unpack different situations that happen, and so that I can learn and develop from those other people's past experiences as well. Again, it's not a place for venting. It's a place to grow. It's a place to reflect, to learn, to discuss, and share resources. So someone might say, I had that problem. This is how I tackled it. Or, you're struggling with that particular skill. Here's some resources. And really develop through different insight, through perspectives. Okay? Again, it's not venting, right? So, in order to be a reflective practitioner, you have to analyze your work. You have to monitor, you have to analyze everything you do. So, what we're doing in these classes is not just, here, do that, learn from it. That's it. No, we're giving you activities that you can then go, I can create that activity at home, and then I can analyze it, and it all has a purpose, right? We've got methods to our madness, and everything that you do, you need to reflect on. You need to go back and watch it again. You need to go back and listen to it. You need to really engage with your work and identify what you've done well. It's not just there for you to critique yourself and rip yourself to shreds. It's there for you to go, I did that really well. I'm going to continue to work on that and make it great, right? Or, that actually could use a bit of focus, polishing, and I'm going to focus on that to make it not necessarily great, but I'm going to make it better, right? And then ultimately you will grow. Okay. I think if you constantly, if you've got some skills and you're good or you're mediocre, and that's good, okay, right? But if you just polish this, you'll never be great. But if you have these good skills, work, get those amazing, and then as you're working as could be better to good, you're at least going to be above average, right? So there's definitely a reason to monitor and analyze your work and make plans for improvement. So, and if you always do what you always did, then you always get what you always got, right? These are great quotes. One definition of insanity is to keep doing the same things but expect a different result, right? So I think it shows us in a kind of a comical way of why you need to look back, you need to make a plan, you need to improve, in order to figure out how to refresh and improve your practice, and to get better at what we do as interpreters. And so hopefully you'll keep that in mind. All right, so next, what do you think these concepts mean? We've got knowing in action and reflection in action, but it should actually say reflection on action, not in action. Okay, so what does that mean? Knowing in action, reflection on action. Thoughts? Okay. So Schoen describes knowing in action. It's the professional knowledge that a practitioner actually uses. It's distinct from the theoretical, scientifically derived knowledge. So we often give you science, we give you theory, and then you go to the job and you know what to do. You just do it. It's that ability to just do. You're not going to stop midst going, that is the theory that applies to this, that, and the other. It's the act of just knowing what to do. So for example, riding a bicycle. Yeah? It's revealed through skillful execution of performance with driving a car as well. Like, you just do it. Yes, you went to driving school maybe. You learned, you passed a test, and then you just do it. And it's nerve-wracking at first, but then over time you get on that whole autopilot, right? So you already know what to do. So doing that again and again. But when something's flagged up, you have to reflect on action. So you have to respond to something, to be able to improvise, to think on your feet, right? So we test our way of seeing a situation and we try to make the change for the better. So when you're reflecting on action, you're working with a monitor, so it's all in your brain, right, to assess and make appropriate decisions in the moment. So again, you can know how to drive down a country road or ride a bicycle, but then all of a sudden something runs out in front of you. It's that quick response where you're checking with, I know I should do this, but I'm going to do this, or whatever it might be, so that you can make a decision in the moment. Okay, so it's the monitor is that whole notion of shuffling back and forth between the knowing and the action. So it's that self-check. All right, so when to reflect, you can reflect before, during, or after an assignment. Okay, you should be reflecting before you come to class. During class, you should be asking questions, you should be thinking, you should be applying, and then after class, you should be walking away going, what did I just learn? How does that impact me? Right? Now, when you're in an interpreting assignment and you're reflecting in the moment, you're not going to be able to necessarily write down everything. You're interpreting. Oh, side thought, I learned this. It's not feasible, right? If you're co-working, you might be able to jot something down to talk about with your coworker later. However, I think the biggest thing to remember is that when you're leaving any assignment, you shouldn't automatically think about your grocery list that you have to go shopping for. You got to get to the next thing. You should always schedule in time to just have that space after one job before you go into another to reflect, to think what happened in that situation. If it happened like that again, what could I have done differently, or what worked in that situation? So then that feeds into, going back to the knowing. So in these situations, I know that this works. I know to do this, right? And it kind of builds. Okay? All right. So, and I think, the thing that does stick out about being a reflective practitioner and reflecting is that you're trying to make your thinking tangible. So you want to accept where you're at and you want to grow. So whatever path that takes. So how can you make your thinking tangible? How can you bring these thoughts out? Have a minute and write down your thoughts. Right? You can think. Yeah, you can do it. You can journal, you can write it down, you can talk, you can sign, you can draw pictures, you can take pictures. You can read other things, you can highlight, you can question or ask questions, collaborate, right? So again, there are different ways, and you probably already have ways that you're reflecting. And how are you doing it? Is it over a cup of coffee with a friend? Is it making a phone call? Is it a Skype call? Is it texting? I don't know. Like, how are you making it? Are you reflecting while you do a craft of some kind? What is it that's bringing to light learning? And what are the benefits of it? Yeah, we've talked about learning, growing, developing, changing, but for you, what would be the benefits in particular about being a sign language interpreter, right? Or even reflecting on how life is as a student, right? About your own practice. Why would you do it? What would you want to predominantly reflect on? And finally, right, so this brings us to the end of a very long lecture. But these are all of the different things we've kind of gone over today, and for some reason it's not showing everything. So I'll make sure that I read them all to you, and you'll have the PowerPoint on Vision as well. But concepts you should know from today before you come into class. Reflective practice, what is it? What does it mean? How do you engage in reflective practice? What is a community of practice? What is knowing in action? What is reflection on action? Supervision. Okay. What is high context and low context communication? What is register? What are the different types of register? Be able to give some examples. Okay. What is the differences between conference interpreting and PSI interpreting, dialogic interpreting? What is another way that we say, we don't say voicing, we say what? Working into English, right? So working into a language, what is that concept and why do we use it? What is one-way interpreting? What are the different interpreting settings, and can you break them down by large group, small group, one-to-one? Who are the clients? What is processing time? What is consecutive interpreting? And what is simultaneous interpreting? Okay, so if you've missed some of those, go back through, highlight, make notes, and thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.